පොතේ ආවිද? ඉන්නවද දන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් මම ඉතින්නේ.
අර නිකන් පොසට ගෑගෙන වගේ තමයි.
Okay, students, wish you a very good morning to Srilanka. We have so many students. So many students we have. 1, 2, 3. 15 students. But you might say, sir, the number doesn't count. What matters is what? Quality. Then the quantity, right? Quality is more important than quantity. Right. Despite repeatedly with the importance of attending lectures on time and taking part on time, what I see is the lackluster of I don't know what kind of behavior they should be. But again, remember there will be assessments and other things, and we have completed our discussion. So let me do my duty and your duty too. Do your duty. But no point telling that to you because you are on time and you are on time. Admit by 30, you are so because I'm here around 30, right? I know the students would be late, but again I come on time because I'm ready to serve. So that shows discipline, work ethics. You'll understand that once you really start with. Some of you know the importance of that. Because in organizations, they value technical skills, number one. But of course, they also value even more work ethics. Taking part on time, being punctual is a really important trait, a characteristic that they will be looking at. And if you are not honoring that kind of character, if you are not ethical, you don't play manners, coming on time, that shows that there's a problem, there's an issue. That will translate into unforeseen circumstances. Coming on time. We are talking about coming on time. Right. So it will affect negatively. Okay, made let people look at it. Right. Without wasting again time. Let's make today's topic. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic. That's directly that will be relevant for your today I take some time to get about it. That's crucial time. That's important to discuss. Did I want to do the same and then put the side? Karan. So I think we have to now start working on that. And today, the thing that I'm going to discuss will be directly relevant to that. Of course, everything I discuss will be directly relevant. But today, what I'm going to discuss will be even more. So therefore, I wish that you will pay your maximum attention, and if you don't understand something, you will ask me, could you please explain more? And I'll be delighted to explain, right? Okay, so in that, we'll start today's lecture. And please go to week 8. The week 8, you will see that there are two files. Go to LM. And under week 8, there are two files, factor analysis and reliability analysis, factor and reliability analysis, and the related data file. Could you please download it? Could you please download it? The factor and reliability analysis as well as the data file. Please download it and open it. So first the word file. Is it visible? I'm going to open the word file. Data tutorial. So this is the first thing that we are going to discuss. Introduction to factor and reliability analysis using data with a practical example. So what is factor analysis and the reliability analysis? Those kind of things we are going to discuss. First of all, let's try to understand what is factor analysis. In fact, you might have studied, you should have studied when you did your O levels, what factor analysis. I think you all should have done O levels, right? 20 years back when you did. Maybe I think 20 years back. 20 years back when you, or 25 years, 6 years back when you did your O levels, right? You should have studied, or maybe 5 years back, I don't know, right? You might have studied factor analysis, right? Today I would remind you how to do factor analysis using data, right? Using data, how to do factor analysis. So this is the tutorial for that, introduction to factor. And this will be very important for your individual assignment as well as for your group assignment. Indeed, everything, every information will be important, but this will be right seriously important, very important for your individual assignment as well as group assignment. Okay. Here, let's first try to understand what's the factor analysis. We'll first try to figure out. Right. Okay. Now, let's look at example 1. In example 1, there are a series of numbers. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 5. How many numbers are there? How many numbers are there? How many numbers are there? 12 numbers are there. Right. There are 12 numbers. But if you look at closely, right? And of course, please take down the topic factor and reliability. Right? Please take down the topic factor and reliability. Why don't you take down the topic? Large black letters, factor and reliability. Factor and reliability. Language is to and how it could be important for you on individual and group method. Fact and reliability. Now first let's understand factors. Factor. First of all, let's try to understand what factor analysis is. Again, let's come to our example. Now, example, how many numbers are there? Example 1. 12 numbers are there. We call that we have 12 elements. What elements? These are called elements. Numbers. Separate elements, there are 12. But if you look closely, how many factors are there? Common factors. Common factors. How many common factors exist? How many common factors are there? You are correct. 4 common factors are there. Although there are 12 elements, how many factors are there? 4 factors. That's what we are trying to do in a factor. We are trying to see common factors. If I look at you, in terms of gender, I can do a factor analysis for you. Although there are 70 students here now at the moment, if I do a factor analysis, I can see 2 groups, males, females. 13 elements, but 2. Likewise, 2 factors. Likewise, what you try to do is in a factor analysis, you are trying to identify what? Common factors. You are trying to identify what are the common factors. Right. So what has happened here? What has happened here? 12 elements reduced to 4 factors. Isn't it? Do not think about the factors created. Although there are 12 elements, there are 4 factors. That's what you do in a factor analysis. In your ordinary level, in your maybe I don't know, ordinary level, I usually have done this under mathematics. So that's what you do under factor analysis. Data reduction. So 12 reduced to 4. So one of the main objectives of performing factor analysis is data reduction. Right? That you have done. So you can see apparently by looking at this example. Then let's see this. So yes, you are correct. White phone correct. The visible I purpose with using white phone. Now next one. Example 2. Example 2. How many elements are again there? How many elements are there? Again, how many elements are there? 9 elements are there. But actually, how many factors are there? What factors? Factors here. Yes, sir. Okay. Okay. Yes, you are correct. There are 9. There are 9 elements and 9 factors, right? Because there is nothing common. Earlier, how we derive that factor now? By looking at 1. By looking at 1 was whole same. And we got 1 factor out of it. We looked at number 1 and we took 1 factor. Then now there is a factor. Is there anything common? No. They are separate now. In that case, there are 9 elements and 9 factors. You cannot do a factor analysis there because there is nothing common. So therefore, please do understand, to get a factor, there should be what? Common elements. There are no common elements, there is no factor. Right? That case. Elements matter, common elements matter, factors correct. Now here, right, I told males and females. I could, now if there are only males, only females, can I do a factor? You can't. You can get only male or female. I cannot get two factors out of it. But likewise, what you have to understand is, yes, there should be common elements. Commonality among the elements to get a factor out of them. Right? That's the factor. Okay. So you can apparently see what happened in the first instance when there are factors that you can derive. It reduced. Right? It reduced what? The data. 12 elements became 4 factors. So therefore, I have given you a note. One of the main reasons, you can see, one of the main reasons why factor analysis is to reduce data. You saw by your own eyes, 12 elements reduced to 4 factors. So that's why I'm telling why factor analysis. The first reason is data reduction. And the second reason is very important, and I need to explain that little bit in detail, not little bit in great detail. The second reason you can see to check the construct validity of a variable. But to check the construct validity of a variable. Here, 5 factor analysis and write down 2 reasons. Right? 1, data reduction. Data reduction. And 2, to check the construct value. To check the construct validity of a variable. Construct validity. I teach you what are these. What's the construct validity? I'll be teaching you in detail. What's construct validity? Data reduction and to check the construct validity. I'll teach you that. Right? What construct validity can I teach you? With an example. Take an example of site of Lanka. That's the thing. Yeah. Very good. Thank you for telling me. But the experience, yeah, I like it. Next. Okay, green chair. Include stuff. Okay. So I was explaining for the records again how the 12 elements reduce to 4 factors. And in the second example, there are 9 elements and also 9 factors because there is nothing common. No common elements. In that case, you have 9 elements and 9 factors. Right. Then I was explaining why factor analysis. Why factor analysis? For 2 reasons. At the exam, you might be asked that. It's a common examination question. Why do you perform factor analysis? 2 reasons are there. One is data reduction, as you saw. The other one is for checking the construct validity of a variable. What construct validity and how to check that? That's what I'm going to explain to you. You have to very closely and carefully listen to it. Because it's directly relevant to your result. Individual as well as group result. In creating variables, you need to know them. Not you will be done. Right? Okay. And there are 2 kinds of factor analysis. Exploratory factor analysis and explanatory factor analysis. EFA and CFA. Exploratory factor analysis and confirmatory factor analysis. Exploratory and confirmatory factor. Right. Now, the first one is exploratory factor analysis. Now, if you don't know how many factors should be there, right? If you don't know how many factors should be there, if you are unaware of how many factors should be there, then you will be doing an exploratory. You have to explore the data, and you are going to try to get the factor, right? But confirmatory means you are trying to confirm what you know already with the data. Confirm. Now, for an example, I know before even checking you all that there should be 2 genders in this class. Right? I know that Then I take the data and I check that. Then what's that? Exploratory or confirmatory? I know and I'm trying to confirm. Then what's that? Confirmatory. I know that they are actually true. Based on a theory or based on human psychology, physiology, I know that there should be two genders. So if I'm trying to confirm that with the data, it's called confirmatory pattern. But on the other hand, exploratory means I don't know how many factors. Let's say I don't know how many factors are there already, and I'm trying to now explore. This you don't have a theory. You don't know how many factors are there, and you are trying to see. Now, for an example, I don't know about your political perceptions. Do I know about political perceptions? Political affiliations, perceptions about, let's say, now yesterday, we see that Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe is being asked and put into remand custody. Okay, he was put there. Why? For misusing, he was accused of, I don't know what he has done that, but again, he was accused of public funds. What happened? While he was coming from America, he went to UK. For what did he go there? For his wife's. For his what? Convocation. According to the letter released, I read, it was a kind of honorary position. That's not a degree, but that's a position that's given to Professor March. She's already a professor and she was given another position by that particular, it seems, I don't, that's what I understood. I don't know that I'm incorrect. And then they both went to then he was accused of what? Using public funds. I don't know what's the interpretation. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal expert, but he was accused of right, public utilizing public funds for his own. Right? State representation. Staying in the grand. I don't. I don't know. Give us factor in there. So I don't know what your perception regarding that. I have no any idea whether what kind of perception is there and what kind of political affiliation you have. So I'm going to gather your data. What's the political affiliations that you have and what's the thought about his arrest and other things like that. And I'm going to do a back and look at, I don't know about that and I'm trying to now look at it. What's that? Is it exploratory or confirmatory? Is it exploratory or confirmatory? Explore. I don't know. I have no free notion. I don't have any idea what's going to happen. Right? So it's exploratory. But if I know already, okay, that you have certain political affiliations, if I already know that, so you have maybe four perceptions, four mainstream perceptions, and if I want to confirm that, then what's that? Confirmatory factor. So based on the objective, whether you know and whether you have to confirm, then it's confirmatory. But other than if you don't know anything about that, and you are going to explore and you are going to get an idea for exploratory, right? Factor. So here we are going to do the exploratory one. We are not going to confirm it, we are going to explore and see how many factors are there. And also to see whether the construct validity is there, like that. Therefore, when you are in office, you have to be extremely careful. මේ ඇති මේ වැඩේ විතරක් කරගෙන so likewise, you you have to be extremely careful in your using public funds. And particularly with the lives matters, you have to be extremely careful. Because things are coming up. So that will give you the good message to public sector. I don't know whether Charlie is wrong or correct. I have no any idea that the court decides that. But on the other hand, what we need to understand is that we are accountable for every cent we pay. That accountability is required, transparency is required. So even with my father, if something is wrong, done wrong, right, I don't even if my father, brother, mother, or whoever, if they are punished, they should be. They are that's it, that's it. That's my perspective. Being the protector, being the savior, doing certain things, helping the country and everything, that's correct. But on the other hand, it doesn't give the right to abuse funds. Is it? That's what people get it wrong. When we are in public office, when we are in stolen positions, we need to do our duty. That's our duty. That's how being a teacher here, my duty is to teach you. And for that, do I get an entitlement? Can I abuse my power? I have duty to perform, and that doesn't now. Let's say I'm a very good teacher, right? I'm a very good teacher. I'm teaching very well. Does it give me any right, to get undue advantages from you? Anytime we go to hotel, it's as if because I'm teaching you very well. Do I have a right to come there and stay free of charge? I might be a best teacher, but it doesn't mean that I can go and get undue advantage. So some politicians, okay, they forget and they think they are kings, right? They might have intellect, etc., and given 100%. We really respect them for it. Of course, we are really respecting. But on the other hand, it doesn't give them the right to be a king. It doesn't give the right to them for being diverse. It's their duty. And we have to take our duties very seriously and perform. That's it. So that's my take on it. I don't know what he has done or not. If he has done something wrong, of course, all should be punished. And not on him. Everyone should be punished if someone has abused. 166 lakhs. Huge amount. Right. Okay. So I think now you understood what's fact analysis. Under fact analysis, what you are trying to do is you are having common, you have elements and you are trying to take common factors out of them. And based on that, I told you that there are two things that you can do under fact analysis. One, two things happen under fact analysis. Why? The purpose of fact analysis would be two. What are those? Number one is data reduction. The other one is checking the construct value. That one I did not teach you yet. That's the next thing that I am going to teach. Then I was telling that there are two variants, two types of fact analysis. What are those? Confirmatory fact analysis and exploratory fact. In the exploratory fact analysis, you know nothing about the data. You don't have a theory or some kind of idea, anything. And what you do is you get the data and you do the analysis and you see, there are 4 factors, 5 factors. That's all. That's what exploratory fact analysis. On the other hand, before even you check the data, you have some idea. There should be 4 factors. And then you try to confirm. That's follow up. confirmatory factor. But here, what we are trying to do is here onwards, right? The exploratory factor, not confirmatory factor. We are not trying to confirm that. We are trying to explore and see how many factors come out of the data. That's what we are saying. Right. Then now let's come into a practical scenario and try to see how we could perform the factor analysis and achieve the second objective of a factor analysis. What's that? Checking the construct value. You will understand what's construct value once you see. For this, you have to fully pay your attention, 100% attention. The morning, so I think your attention span is also very focused, right? Good time to do research. No, mornings are the best time to focus, right? Focus. Right. Now, let's look at this practical scenario. Now, say, for an example, a researcher wants to assess the level of job satisfaction. We all do our jobs, interns or jobs, right? Internship. So, job satisfaction among employees in a medium-sized IT company. To measure this, the researcher uses the following 5 questions, all on a 5-point Likert scale. What's this 5-point Likert scale? What Likert scale is? I agree, disagree, I disagree. So I agree. This is Likert scale. The two ends are highly disagree and highly agree. Right. Then what's in the middle? What are the neutral? Neutral. Then number 2 is what? Disagree. Then number 4? Agree. Likewise, you can say this is the Likert scale. Now, all these statements here are on Likert scale. 1 to 5. Always you will attribute number 1 to bad, highly deceived. Highly deceived. That's the methodological direction to remove any biases. What a bias before. Right. Now look at here. Now the variable is job satisfaction. Make a variable again. Job satisfaction. But you are asking 5 questions for the same thing. What's that? Job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is your variable that you want to measure. And you are asking 5 questions. Same thing. What are the questions? I feel satisfied with my job. I enjoy work coming every day. Same thing, same. I feel motivated at work. I feel valued by my employer. I would recommend my job to others. How many questions are there? How many factors are there? How many factors? There are 5 elements. How many factors are there? What's the factor known as? My question is, you could have asked 1 question. I was satisfied with your job. Why are you asking 5 questions? Now, gender. Do I need to ask 5 different ways? What's your gender? Question. What's your gender? That's all. Then why do you need to ask 5 different ways the same thing? Job satisfaction. Remember, these are perception-based questions. Likert questions, perception questions. So, when there is a chance that some questions might be misunderstood by whom? The respondent. Misunderstand the question number 5. You can validate it. එතකොට ඒක ගන්න පුළුවන් බෑ. Therefore, in that case, we have to remove that question. You have to remove that question and take other 4 questions and take the average value to create the variable. Variable create කරන්න නැතිකොට මේකේ average එකක්. මේ questions 5 responses වල average. Right? So that's how you create a result. On the other hand, if a question was misunderstood by the majority, then you have to remove that question. So that's why you have to have at least 3 questions for a Likert type variable. Likert variable, at least 3 questions of the right? At least 3 questions should be there for a Likert type question because those are perception based questions. Well, if at least 1 question is misunderstood, then there are another 2 questions that you can take for consideration. Right? The common perception based questions. Hitana beginning job satisfaction hitana perception. So ඒක පස්සේ ජීවිතේ එකම දේ අහන්න. අදිසියයක් එකක් හරි වැරදිද තේරුම් ගත්තා එන තව හතරක් තියෙනවා. අපිට ඇවරේජ් කරලා තේරුම් එකක් හදන්න. තිබුණ එක ක්වෙස්චන් එකක් නම්. ඒක වැරදිද තේරුම් ගත්තා නම් ඉවරයි නේද? people misunderstand. දැන් ජෙන්ඩර් එකට අහන්න ඕන පස්සේ තියෙනවා. නෑ. what's your gender කියන එක perception එකක් නෙවෙයි. perception නෑ. what's your gender? we know very well what's our gender. එක question එකක් අහන්න. නමුත් job satisfaction එක එච්චර සරල දෙයක් නෙවෙයි. ඒක misunderstand කරන්න තියෙන chance එක වැඩි. උදාහරණයක් කිව්වොත් I would recommend my job to others. එයා බලන්නේ කෙනෙක් හිතයි මගේ job එක දීලා අනිත් එකට recommend කරනවා මම ඊට පස්සේ මොකද කරන්නේ? එමෙතන පුළුවන්. I highly disagree. No, I'm going to recommend my job to anyone. I will lose my job. කොහොම මාරේ හරි මොකද කරලා job එක. Because they don't work. Likewise, a person might never can be. Again, job එක recommend කරනවා නේ. මේ job එක මම කොච්චර satisfied කිව්වොත් මම මේක ගැන අනිත් කට්ටියට recommend කරනවා. මොකද මගේ job එක ආවම තියෙන එක නම් එහෙම misunderstand කරන්න පුළුවන් මොනසෙ. A person might misunderstand because type. These are perception based questions. That's why for a single variable, you have to type paper. You should have at least 3, 4, 5 questions. And एक उधर किया मुझे तो वाला इंडिविजुअल असाइनमेंट है राइट एक ग्रुप असाइनमेंट है Likert type independent dependent variables थी in your individual and group assignment there should be Likert type questions of this nature. Likert type at least 3 independent variables and 1 dependent variable. Likert type. I show you example right in the book. But now I'm putting the foundation. Right? So again, let me come to the fundamental. Now there are how many questions here? 5 questions are there. All asking about what? Job set. Why do you ask? Why do you need to ask the same thing in 5 different ways? Because if one question was misunderstood, then there are another 4 questions that you can average and take them. ඒක average එක වගේ කරගෙන ෆීඩ් කරනවා අඳුරේ. Now තිබුණේ එකයි නේද? If you had only one question to check the job satisfaction and if it is misunderstood then that's gone. The variable is finished. I did when you cannot again go and collect data, it's time wasting and you might not be able to get the data as well and they will not fit that as well. I guess there are people and people are not found. These are voluntary activities. So therefore, you have to ask at least in 3 different ways. For a Likert type, perception based question. Right again. So how many questions, sub-questions are there here? How many sub-questions are there for job satisfaction? 5. But how many factors are there? Factors here, again, note them. What's the factor known as? Job satisfaction. Unnamed anyone. If you do a factor analysis and one factor comes out of this, right? Now, if I run a factor analysis by we do now, if you run a factor analysis by using these 5 questions, giving data and running factor analysis, it should load into one factor. In that case, if we get one factor out of this decoding, this particular set of questions have construct value. As a construct, it's valid because one construct, one variable comes out of it. That's what we mean by construct value. One construct should come out of these 5 subquestions. So I have given a note on that. The 5 questions are assumed to measure one underlying variable, one construct. One construct. Right? These 5 questions are measuring one underlying construct. Job satisfaction. We will test this assumption using the fact analysis. We will check fact analysis. And if one construct comes out of that, we call it what? This variable has construct value. Okay. Out of these 5 subquestions, 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 on job satisfaction, on job satisfaction, if a fact analysis was performed, if a fact analysis is performed, and one factor emerges, and one factor is performed, and one factor emerges, then one factor emerges, then it could be concluded that there is construct value. There is construct value. One factor emerges, could be concluded that one. There is construct value. One construct is there. What's that construct? That's the question. So that is the second reason why you perform what? Okay. That is the second. To check whether that construct value is a Likert type question. Likert type variable. For a Likert type variable, right? When we are there as subquestions, 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7 subquestions, you are trying to do a fact analysis and see whether one construct comes out. In this case, if more than one construct comes out of it, then we cannot conclude that there is construct value for that question. Right? Is that it? This is the understanding that you can have. For your individual assignment, you need at least 3 independent variables in Likert type and at least 1 dependent variable on Likert type. Assignment guidelines are take a parallel up for an. I have not indicated that theory for purpose. This is the lectures to come. Good morning. Let's catch you on a laptop again now. Or a son of a water. Follow the guidelines and you. That is some basic vector. When you see the finite, There should be a difference, yes. There should be for the person who comes and he does. So make sure there are at least 3 dependent variables, right? 3 dependent variables on the data. Then dependent variables be dependent. Make sure when you construct your what? Yes. It should be now doing, which I told you under the interest. Right. Okay. Good. So that's where you are trying to get the constructor. Now let's add some intricacy. Now let's say we are also going to add another variable into this equation. Right? We are going to add another variable into this term. Work-life balance. We know if you have work-life balance, we have what? Job satisfaction. One factor that leads to job satisfaction is what? Having work-life balance. Salary, work-life balance, and a lot of other things which contribute to what? Job satisfaction. Isn't it? If there is no job satisfaction, if there is no work-life balance, you might not have that much of job satisfaction. If your salary is not adequate, you won't also have that much of job satisfaction. If you don't have, so there are, actually, I think your HR professors should have taught you that there are what? Intrinsic rewards as well as extrinsic rewards, intrinsic factors as well as extrinsic factors that would lead to what? Job satisfaction or life satisfaction. What's intrinsic? Something that's inside you, intrinsic. Then extrinsic, some external reward. Now salary is what? Salary is an extrinsic reward that could motivate you up to a certain extent. And after that, even if you receive a higher salary, you won't get motivated. After that, what matters is intrinsic rewards, like recognition, contribution, and things like that. You should feel that you are recognized. You should feel that you are appreciated. Although you might not be paid well, but if you feel you are appreciated, that itself is an intrinsic reward. Right? So there should be a good balance between that to retain an employee, an important employee. Right? That's something about HR. Right. Now work-life balance. Now here you can see, I'm going to add another 5 questions on work-life balance into the question. What are those? Work-life balance. I can balance my work. I have enough time for my family. My workload is manageable. So you're asking again the same thing in 5 different. Same thing, again 5 questions. Why? Because my work-life balance is somebody I asking another. Remember, these are again perception-based questions. Likert type perception-based questions. If it is perception-based questions, you have to ask the same thing in different ways. Gender, you don't need to ask that. You can ask what's your gender, that's all. And you want to say what's gender, what's your age? What are age? Other possibility. What's your age? It was an hour. O level correct. A level correct. But again, you ask your age and you don't age. But perception-based questions you might misunderstand. That's why you're asking the same thing in 5, 6, 7 different. The recommended practice is to ask the same thing, same variable. It is a Likert scale perception-based question at least by 3 ways. At 3, right? Right. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll try to now confirm. Now, how many questions altogether are there? 5 work-life balance questions, and even before that, there are 5 what? Job satisfaction questions. Now, if I do a factor analysis by putting all these 10 questions, then now how many questions are there? 10 questions are there. Right? 10 questions are there. I collected, let's say, from 300, 400 employees, and I put the data and I run a factor analysis. How many factors should come up? Factor is the single key again or that? Perfect. How many? Two. What are the two factors? Perfect. I got the answer. What are the two factors? One is job satisfaction, the other one is work-life balance. So that's what now we are going to check. If two factors come out, then what's that? We say construct validity is there for each variable. Right? And those elements should load under each factor. You will see that. That's what we are going to check. And that's where now we are going to check the construct value. And after that, I'll tell you how to check the reliability of these 5 subscriptions. Right. To do that, we'll follow these steps. For that, please download the data file if you are not already done so. So please go to the LMS. And here you can see under the big 8 bottom, you have what? Data file. Data, session 8, satisfaction, and work-life balance data. Can you please download it? Download the data set. Please download the data set. And now using data open. Today I did not bring my computer and everything is running on the office computer, university's computer. How could I do that? Because I need to install data. I just download it and I'm running. Just download run. Okay. How to open that downloaded file? You can go over here, open, and go to downloads. Here you can see resiliency, job satisfaction, and work life balance. So you open. So how many variables are there? Sub questions. You can see JS1 to JS5. What's that? Job satisfaction 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The responses that you get from the response. Then you have what? WLP. What's WLP? Work life balance. So best practice is what? Once you open a data file, what's the best practice? Very good. I'm getting the answer. Well, best practice is. Well, open Galle, one day. Yeah. What will you do? Yes, you might. Here, while you do that, after you do that, maybe, you computer after the please that's the best practice. Why not? Because there is an aspect that we cannot see in this world, and that aspect is very important when it comes to living a good life. Spirituality, divinity is very important. Whatever the religion that you believe, that's your responsibility. But again, believe in something. That's going to be important. All religions are directing us to be good people. Right. So they do what? Pros. So pros. So go here. Magnify it. Again. Right. This is magnifier. I'm going to use the magnifier to show you what I'm going to type here. So on the command, I will say stop. उसमें टाइप करना तो हमने ब्राउन को टेलीफोन. If you are lazy like me, you can type part of the domain. Yes. Okay. So you can see from 100 employees, they have got the data. JS1 is job satisfaction bar. GS2, group satisfaction 2. Likewise, GS1 to GS5, group satisfaction is 2. Right? GS1 to GS5, there are group satisfaction. Now, these are the responses. Are indicated working pattern, they can go each row, and they have indicated their response. How many questions are there altogether? 10 questions are. Right, now let's do a factor analysis and see whether it comes to 2 factors. If it is, then we report it part. There is construct validity for part, job satisfaction, and also part, work, life. That's what we are going to do. Let's do it together. So you open the data set and let's now go to the tutorial. Okay, let's go to the tutorial. Word file. So download and open the dataset. We did that. Perform the factor analysis. Step number 1, run a basic factor analysis. Run a basic factor analysis. So you can say how, you can say factors. Again, you want, you can copy and paste, but factors. Here are factor. Factor in on it's a value now. It has to be group. Don't make mistakes like me. Factor. This is factor. It should be factor, not factors. Factor. And then put the variables one by one. So just keep the cursor over here. Cursor ka midana kiya hai. Midana double click kar. JS1. Then next one going JS2. Then it will come over there. Midana cursor ka kiya hai. You keep the cursor over here and double click on the variable. It will come. The type kar. So what are the codes? Now we can swap. Factor JS1, JS5, then WLP1 to WLP5. Correct. Right. लोगों स्क्रीन नहीं के साथ मूव कर रहे हैं पार्ली में ini boleh करना यहाँ पे hit enter it comes out then output tag करा वाला मुकर नहीं out I had got a modification also then looking some output out of it you can see here now output निकाल So I have given a note. Let's go to the note. Output. Here, first of all, you have to understand what this EG value. You can EG value. Okay. To look at the output again, you can see the first output. There is something called EG value. Okay. Did you see that? Can you see this? EG value. What's an EG value? Right? You have to understand it very carefully. So I have given a note for that. I can note that in. If you go back, it says what's an EG value. Think of an EG value as a score that tells us how important each factor is. Underline. EG value shows how important each factor is.
It shows how much information or variance from the original variable is captured by that factor. If a factor has high eigenvalue, it means that factor explains a lot of overall factors in the data. Higher the better. A factor with an eigenvalue greater than 1 is typically considered meaningful. So we expect at least 1 as the eigenvalue. Eigenvalue is so it order very yeah, is a factor what consider. For example, if factor 1 has an eigenvalue of 3.8, round the egg, that means it captures the same amount of information as 3.8 of the original question. That's really good. Great information content is there. That factor. So it's very important. It's very important. How much of the total variance in all variables is explained by each factor? So either way. Generally, a factor with an eigenvalue greater than 1 is considered significant, as I told you earlier. For example, if factor 1 has an eigenvalue of 3.8 and factor 2 has 2.1, it means that these two factors explain most of the shared variance. So there are two factors exist. So that's what we say eigenvalue. So let's go back to the state output. Now tell me, by looking at the output, how many factors are indicated? Important factors here. Eigenvalue with the two factors. Because you can see, although there are 10, right, to represent the equation, there are 10 factors, but again you can see only two factors are emerging because only two factors has an eigenvalue, but more than one. Okay. Factor 1, 3.9, factor 2, 3.5. Those are extremely good. Why? It's above 1. So here you can see, by looking at the data has identified how many factors should be there. 2. Right? Data has identified there should be 2 factors. Is it correct? Did we expect 2 factors out of 10 questions? Yes. What are the 2 factors? Right? Job satisfaction and work-life balance. Likewise, we expected 2 factors and here it's shown as 2 factors. Good. So we have confirmed to a certain extent, but not yet. It's the first step into the back end. Then more explanation. Let's go back to the word file. Right. Then you can go and see, right, the second day. In the second table, you can see here factors to factor 6, it has identified 6 factors, but these the first 2 are the most important. Those factor 1 and factor 2 are the most important one. And if you look closely, you can see JS1 to JS1. Now these are called factor loadings. These are called factor loadings. We can factor loadings here. These are called in the second table. You can see the factor loadings are for each question. Job satisfaction, the factor loading is there. What's factor loading? What factor loading? What's the factor loading? It's a simple thing. Factor loading means the correlation between the question and the factor. What is factor loading here? The correlation between the factor and the question. Let me give an example. Now, if you look at here, this one, JS1 and factor 2. The correlation between this question, JS1 and factor 2 is 0.7599. The correlation. the correlation between that question JS1 and factor 2 is 0.7599. Right? So, what do you expect? The factor load is to be higher or lower? Higher. Because higher the correlation, better. Right? So, these questions should be having high correlation with the relevant factor. And you can see, it seems factor 2 and JS1, JS2, JS3, JS4 and JS5 has high correlation. Can you see that? But on the other hand, WLB questions have negative correlation. But it's loaded here. WLB 1.80, WLB 2.7. You can see these 5 questions are more on factor 1. Can you see that? So what it has done is data, it has segregated the 2 questions into JS1 and WLB 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. So you can see, although we conceptually created these 5 questions, now with data, these based on data, but data has identified the 2 factors properly. Right? So these are called factor load. So loading above 0.5 is considered to be good. A loading above 0.5 is considered to be good. But a loading below 0.4 is a problem. But here I don't think there's loadings for each factor. And here all are above 0.6. Here all the factor load, but later on we'll see that. Right, here still is not clear. It's only a basic, the first stage of the mechanism. Then there's another thing also that we have done. So it says again, WLB items load mostly on factor 1. Mostly on factor 1 as you can see. And JS items on factor 2. JS items are mostly loading in factor 2. That tells that the data supports the 2 construct structure we expected. Job satisfaction and work-life balance. Work-life balance, right? JS1 to JS5, more towards factor 2 being loaded. Work-life balance loads to factor 1. Then there's another statistic called uniqueness of value. What does it show? Now, if you go back to this table, you can see here, this table, there is something called uniqueness in the second table. And it shows 0.04. What does it mean? The questions were the sub questions were the uniqueness value. What's that? Let's see what's that. It says what? These show how much variance is not explained by the fact. Not explained by the fact. Lower, better. Explain not explained by the fact. Now, for an example, JS1 has a uniqueness value of 0.04. Can you see that? Yeah. 0.0434. What does it mean? It means, so 95% of this variance is explained by that fact, by that question. Uniqueness case not explained. That means 4% is not explained, 4 to almost 5% is not explained. Then it explains 95%. You understand? So what it says is, here not explain 4%. On the other hand, explains 96%. Here it explains 3%. Not explains 3%. That means this factor is explained 97%. But here is the 39%. My God. That's the third factor. Third factor, right here. 39%. Oh, that's not a good one. So likewise, you can see lower the weight, the uniqueness score. Right? Uniqueness score not explained by that particular. Right. So step number 2 now. Step number 2 is to draw a tree plot diagram. To to determine to visually look at how many factors are there. Every step, step fact analysis. Step number 1, we ran a fact analysis. Step number 2, run a basic fact analysis. Now step number 2, is to draw a tree plot to visually see how many factors are there. This tree plot diagram is also known as an elbow diagram. You will see why I am calling it an elbow diagram. When it is an elbow diagram, millimeter diagram here. Millimeter sata. Why you call that? You will see that. Sure. Now go here and type tree plot. Oh, copy and paste that from the word file. Tree plot. Tree plot that. Tree plot and hit enter. Then it will draw a diagram. Look at this diagram. You can see how many two main bends are there. Maybe bends here, the two. How many main bends are there? How many main bends are there? Two. This is called a tree plot diagram or an elbow diagram because it looks like this. Right? Elbow diagram. These are human elbow. So how many main bends are there in this diagram? Two. How many factors did we identify under the fact analysis, basic fact analysis? Two. So tree plot diagram confirms how many main factors are there. If there were three main bends, then in that case, we would have expected three factors. How many factors are here? Two. Two main bends. Two main bends are there. Good. That's also understood. This is step number 3. Front factor analysis take two factors. Now you confirm that there are two factors. Now what you are going to do is you are going to force to two factors. You are going to force to two factors. Because you now confirm that there are two factors. So what you need to do is now write the same factor, basic factor analysis, put a comma and say factors 2. Put a comma and say factors 2. Because you expect two factors. Now in fact you are going to confirmatory factor. You are going to confirm. You are going to force to two factors. So what you can do is you can copy this if you want. But what I prefer is not to copy. I would like to go there and put it by myself as a factor. And then I'll go here and say JS1, double click and it will come out here. Then JS2, 3, 4, 5, 21, 2, 5, 5. It's there. So all 10 has come. I put comma and I say factors. Expect factors 2. Factors 2. So this is the third step. And I'll hit enter. Now you get a quite nice diagram. Again, the EG values are the same. Factor 1 and factor 2. Again the same. So how many factors you again see? Two factors emerge seen out of this. And you can see now the loadings are very clearly only for two factors. Earlier it went to 6 factors. right? The basic factor analysis indicated 6 factors. Can you remember earlier? Right? If I go the earlier diagram, it was showing 6 factors. This is the earlier. But now it shows 2 factors because we forced to have the factor loadings for 2. And you can see very clearly now, JS1, JS2 has loaded to factor 2, and WLB has loaded to factor 1 predominantly. But still not quite correct. For that, what we are going to do is, so factor 1 and factor 2 is there. So now we again see that it's being loaded to factor. But still I am not happy. So they extract 2 factors as expected. Job satisfaction work like that. Then we shall go to the fourth one. Step 4. Apply Dirichlet's rotation. Now what we have to do is we got the initial factor. Now this is what we call the initial factor loadings. But now we rotate the factor solution. The now what is the initial factor load? Right, the factor loadings are there for 2 factors, that's all. But I would like to get a more refined, more clear factor load. So that's why we are going to use the Verimax rotation. That's step number 4. We are going to rotate the factor solution and see what are the refined factor loads. Now we initial solution. So in the factor analysis, you have an initial solution and a rotated solution. Now we are going to go for a rotated solution. That will give more refined, proper factor load. So here what you can do is just go and run this command, rotate Verimax. There are different methods, but again, Verimax is much better. So I'm going to go to Stata and I'm going to type here rotate command vary. That's all. Hit enter. Now it gives the more proper correct solution. Here you can see there are 2 factors, 3.7 and 3.68. 2 factors are there. Very clearly it's indicated. And you can see now the factor loadings are very clear. You can see JS1 has 0.97. The rotated matrix used there. Then JS2 0.83. While these all are quite low. But on the WLB again has high factor loadings for factor 1. So now it's very clear. Because even if you see the earlier version, the factor loadings are not clear. Right? I'll give you proof. If you go to the earlier version, now these are the earlier factor loadings, you can see even for JS1 it's 0.61 under factor 1. But we know JS1 to JS5 should come under factor 2. But still we can see the factor loadings are high under the earlier solution, unrotated solution. But if you go to the rotated solution, now you can see the reality. This is the rotated solution that you got now. It's only 0.03 factor 1. But for this one, it's 0.9769. This is the reality that we show. Right? So that's why we rotate it and we try to see what's the reality. Right? So finally, this is what you are going to use as your final solution. Rotated matrix. So you can see that there are 2 factors and these questions are properly loaded under each factor. Right? Properly loaded under each factor. So I have given a note for that as well. So this rotates the factor matrix to improve interpretability. So it's easy to interpret. You will see that JS items load highly on one factor and WLB items load on the other. Okay, is that clear? So how many steps we follow to run the fact analysis? How many steps? How many steps? 4 steps. First, what you have to do? Step number 1, run a basic fact analysis. Run a basic fact analysis. Step number 2, what? Draw 3 factors. Number 3, force it to 2 factors. Why? We expect 2 factors. On the screen plot as well as the initial factor analysis, we understood that there are 2 factors. How did we identify that there are 2 factors? Based on what? Engine values. Based on engine values, we understood how many factors. There are 2 factors. Why? How did we understand that? Because the engine values for those 2 factors were above 1. Then finally, to get the final outcome, we ran it, rotated matrix. There are different methods. Here we ran the Verimax rotation method. That's the most common popular. So it's very simple to run that. Rotate, comma, Verimax. Rotate means we have to get the rotated final solution. Is that clear? Right. Now let's have a break, and after the break, we'll do some additional experiment. Okay. We'll take some more break. Break take one hour. So the break has to be taken, and now it's almost 10. This comes by 10:20. A. Today. Morning, Prashant. Oh, we're going to do it. You go together. Together. I can get from this.
චීවි දැම්ම මට.
Yeah. Fine. Come on. Whatever stage account, stage account. Even if was a pooling month. ඒක ඔක්කොම අධික කරනකොට just of page folder create කරන start හරි ඒකට කෙලිය ඔක්කොම කන්ටෙන්ට් එක අධික කරනවා ඊට පස්සේ එතනට ගිහිල්ලා ඒක 64 DB කියන එක කරනවා අරගන්න කියන්නේ දැන් මේ ෆෝන් කන්ටෙන්ට් පැත්තේ ඒක තමයි వాళ్ళకి 18 కట్టే పిటియనే ఇది Okay, students, welcome back, welcome back.
Okay, students, so welcome back. So welcome, all of you, welcome back. So let's now do a small exercise on the same thing that we did. Now please go and download this file. So you can see exercise number 1. So I hope the online students also could see the screen and you can hear me as well. So what you can do is please download this survey for ED file. So here you can go back to the LMS. Go to that to your LMS. And then you can see somewhere the survey for ED file should be there. Because our number here. Under week 6, go to week 6. Under week 6, you can see here, data section 4, survey for ED is there. Right? Data section 4, survey for ED is there. Please download. What you will have to do. Okay. So download that file. Number 6. Anything that survey for ED is fine. Mono file survey for ED you get. Next, please download that and open that. Open that in Stata. Here survey for ED is there. I'm going to open that. So once you open, what you should do? Open kara, simple kara. Run the browser, right? You have to browse and see. So I'm going to try browse. This data is there, right? And if you look close, then I'm going to close it, and I'm going to go to the list. If you look closely, you will see that there is this particular variable. Life set 1, life set 2, life set 3, life set 4, likewise. If you go a little bit down, you will see there are 5 sub-questions. These are in fact the sub-questions that they are used to measure life satisfaction. Life satisfaction is a variable එක measure කරන්න. ඒගොල්ලෝ use කරලා තියෙන scale එක තමයි the 5 sub-questions. What are the questions? The questions are there. Here, life set 1 to life set 5. Only Likert scale, 1 to 7 Likert scale. मैं हमें एक measure करते हैं 1 to 7 Likert scale एक तरह measure करते हैं. How many sub-questions are there? 5 sub-questions are there to measure life satisfaction. So, question number 1 in Likert scale, right? Question number 1. Why do we need to ask 5 questions? One is एक variable of measure करा, life satisfaction measure करा, right? Questions पार्क करा, बड़ा तो questions पार्क कर दे, variables पार्क करने देने का, questions पार्क, variables पार्क कर, तो एक क्या हो रहा है? एक मुझे possibility क्या है? Why do you need to ask the same thing in 5 different ways? Because it's a perception based. In case if a responder did not understand one question out of this, and if only one question was asked, then nothing to ask it. Very wrong. Gender capacity, do you need to ask gender in 5 different ways? I don't think so. Anyone would understand what you're doing? So now you can see life set 1, life set 3, life set 4, life set 5, life set 5. Get a path question path here on. Occupable Likert scale question. And then you have to check whether it has construct value. It does say PSS 1 to PSS 10. A questions for perceived stress related question. Take a whenever. Right. What I recommend is variable by variable, check the construct value. Keep a packet to the answer. Don't put. Now we did earlier that what work satisfaction, and work-life balance together just to demonstrate. But now what we'll do is we'll put variable by variable and check whether there is what construct value. Can you do that? Can you check? Use these 5 questions that are there. Run the 4 steps and tell me whether there is construct validity for these 5 questions on what? Life satisfaction rate. One again. Check that a little. Run the 4 steps. Step number 1. What's that? Step number 1. Start the basic factor. Step number 2. Draw the street for that. Step number 3. Right? Post the factors. The method is factors 1. You can run a full message. You get the same answer that as for the basic question. Then rotate it. In fact, you don't need to rotate it because there is only a factor. You have to rotate currently. But again, let's run the 4 analysis. Can you run the factor? Keep your cat in the game. Can you run the factor? I will ask randomly one person to come forward and perform. Randomly. Okay. No. Only those 5 questions. You go in the good. That's what we get.
What can you see? How many factors are there? Factors. Very good. What the email? 3.1. Is it good or bad? Anything about one is good. Hurry up, it करो देना. Shall we do it together? Step number 1. After the okay, factor and check करने, एक कावने नीचे वाला करने देख. ऐसे ही आप steps टिक आप दोगे नहीं ना, right? Rotate करने देख नहीं. One factor comes, there is nothing to rotate. But again, let's do it. Right. Right. So first thing is what? You say factor. So I'm going to enlarge this. I'm going to say factor. And then put the factor. Like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Double click, then it will come out. Click करवाए ना? और type कर करेंगे. Then hit enter. So you get here. Yes, there's only one factor that has a beating value above 3, above 1. In fact, it's even above 3. So that shows what? That's an indication there's only one factor. Is it good? That's extremely good. That's what you are looking for. Whether the R is equal to 20, the factor 2 is out. If it is above 2.5 or 1.5, then it's from. Because there are 5 applications, but we expect one question out. Then application. Right? Signs are shown that it's good. Then what is the second thing that we do? Second thing is the screen broadcast. Now, how many main bends are there? Main bends here. 1. There's again another confirmation. There is only one factor. Right? Why this called an elbow diagram? Because it's like a human elbow. Elbow diagram. So, one factor seems out. Then you don't need to do this, but again we'll force it. Force it to one factor. Right, we'll force it to 1 because here again it shows 2, but let's force it to 1. So how to force that? Again, then you do command. Now to do a note, there's a shortcut. If you want to run a command that you already ran, just go to the history and you can click on it. Then it comes here. If it is the history, because when you post that, only a small difference you do. What's that? You put the same thing factor. Oh, now the pen. The loop command is I do not know. So you go to the command line and you can see this is the command that you already ran. Click on that. Then it comes in. But the third step we have to put the comma and say what? Factors and put what? 1. Because we expect one factor. Right? Not 2. Because above you can see there are 2 factors in that test.
and hit it. And now it closer to 1 factor. Then make a rotate around the plan because it's only 1 factor. If you have more than 1 factor only, you rotate that. But again, as a matter of completion, let's rotate. What's the rotation command? Step number 4. Right. Rotate, comma, very max. You can see 1 factor has come out. And rotated matrix has come. It's very similar to what you get here. Earlier we get the because there's only 1 factor. And whatever the factor loading is it good or bad? You can see all factor loadings are above what? Above even 0.5, even 0.6. Is that good? Extreme. We expect at least above 0.5. Again, the factor loadings. What are again factor loadings? The correlation between the particular factor and the question. Now, for example, life set 1 and factor 1, there's correlation 0.82. A factor, right? That factor and that element of the correlation. So, highlight it. Right? And that's what you expect. High correlation is good to support that. Okay. Now let's do another part. Another question. Right. So let's do it again. And whether you know PSS 1, PSS 10. How can you PSS get? What do you think? No, it's PSS. PSS. PSS is perceived stress. So there are 10 questions. PSS 1, PSS 10. There are 10 sub questions. Right? If I run a factor analysis, how many factors should come out? 1. 1 factor should come. What the factor is called? Perceived stress. If you get more than 1 factor, that means something is wrong. Right? So please check for PSS 1, PSS 10. Again, running the 4 steps. Steps are the coming very close. Coming soon. What was the battery power? How long? The battery. How long? Usually. Oh, that's good. Perfect. Usually, one computer is going to stay with motion. So when did you purchase office. Yeah, maintain good battery. 2 months. Okay. That's why it's like now going, sir. And make it there. Now go to the Thanks, code. You are always okay. One came up. Sometimes it's not. In that case, your questions are wrong. It doesn't count to 1 factor, then something is wrong. So, shall we do it again? Apply Colombo. How to run? Step 1. First step 1, run a basic factor analysis. And then you go over here, PSS1, PSS2, PSS3, PSS4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So PSS1, PSS2. Hit enter. Okay, you can see here, region value 3.77. That's really good. Only one factor is there. Only one factor is showing an EG value above 1. Is that good? Extremely. Extremely good. Then afterwards, what you are going to do is, you are going to draw the screen for that. Screen plot. There is one main pin. One main pin. And after that, it gets slammed. That's also a good sign. The next one. What's the next one? Next one, you are going to close it. So again, you don't need to type more things to go to this one. You can see same thing is there. So it will come over here and put comma and say factor. Factors. Factors. Hit enter. Okay, there's one factor. So it came very nice. But still you can see, although it came nicely, yes, it shows one factor. Then afterwards what you are going to do is, you are going to rotate. What's the command for rotation? Rotate. Very good. You can see it's case to 1. But there's a problem. Can you tell me what's the problem? Everything is fine. It has construct validity, that's correct, but there's a problem. Can you tell me what's the problem? What is here? The life is all about issue. Need I fully explain. I'm asking about life. I'm asking this later. What is it? Some factors are negative, but some elements are negative. Now, what we expect is a positive high correlation. But here, it's above 0.5, that's correct, but it's minus. PSS4, PSS5, PS7, 8 are minus. There is some issue there. We cannot expect minus. Although it came nice one factor, there's a reason for it. So sometimes, the reason I tell you, sometimes you ask the question in a negative. Right? You can ask a question. Now I could ask you, the quantified Likert scale, I can ask you, are you satisfied with your life? Or are you stressed in your life? So let's put this statement like this. I'm going to do a statement. Right. Highly agree, highly disagree to highly agree. The statement is this. I don't have stress in my life. So let's say you are a person who doesn't have stress. No perceived stress. Then you will say what? Number 5, isn't it? Highly agree. So for an example, let's say, okay, deal up in it's like a data page. Here. So I'll show you how to what's this. Because you can ask sometimes questions in the other way. Let's say this is the Likert scale. 1, 2, 5. So one question might be like this. For example, let's say Mr. A is feeling this. Mr. A is feeling this. He's a very no stress person. Mr. A is a no stress person. Yes, he doesn't have stress. So one is what? Highly disagree. So he's feeling this question, right? One is highly disagree. Five is highly. Let's say these are the Likert scale. This is what he's feeling. Okay, he's feeling. So he's highly agree. Then I'm going to ask the same question in a negative way. Now for this, what he would feel? If Mr. A is a person having not stress, what would be his response? I will disagree. But same person would respond, I will disagree, because you are asking the same question in different. The same question, one was asked in a positive form. The first question was asked in a positive, right? But it says this, I am not stressed at all. You are asking about stress, stress is something not good. So you ask something in a positive. I am not stressed. But on the other hand, I am very stressed. That's why asking in a negative. This is something not good. So likewise, if you can ask the same question in a positive or negative, but you get the same response, isn't it? Although highly agree and highly disagree, the same person is in this case a not stressed person. So likewise, sometimes you can have negatively worded question. Sometimes you can have negatively worded question. So what has happened is one to take, you can see some questions are negative because those are negatively worded questions. So actually, if you are going to do a factor analysis, first thing what you have to do is you have to reverse code it. And then do a factor. But don't worry, you don't need to. Your advanced negative attack. When you are doing a research, you might need to sometimes reverse code. Here you don't need to. That's why you have some negative factor elements. Right. Okay. Now let's come to the. So that's about factor analysis. That's about factor analysis. In factor analysis, I told you, let me give a summary what we did so far. Right? In factor analysis, what we have two purposes of doing factor analysis. What are those? Factor analysis is a parameter need to deduct. What are the following? Data reduction. Earlier you saw at the beginning, example 1, you had 12 elements that reduced to 4. That was the first reason. Then the next one, why did you do factor analysis? Why did you do factor analysis? Just to check the construct validity, the construct validity for variable. For what kind of variables? Likert scale. In a Likert scale variable, perception based variable, for one variable you ask about 3-4 questions. Why? Because it's perception based question. Well, somehow you might misunderstand, therefore it's better to ask at least 3-4 questions to measure that variable. Right. Then, if it loads to one factor, then we call that has what? construct. Well, to check that, we followed how many steps? How many steps were always followed? 4 steps. What were the 4 steps? Step number 1, run a basic subtract. You say factor and put the what? Subquestions of the table. And I can just check, like as I did for work-life balance, right? As I did for not work-life balance, as I did for job satisfaction or the life satisfaction impact, as well as for the stress, do it separately. Don't put all the variables, subquestions together and run factor analysis. Although I did that for show you, demonstrate work-life balance and job satisfaction, I did that to demonstrate. But my suggestion for your assignment, individual assignment as well as group assignment, do it separate, right? එක variable එකකට වෙන වෙනම factor analysis කරනවා. Variables ඔක්කොම subquestions එකට දාලා factor analysis කරන්න එපා. Right? Next thing. That was step number 1. Step number 2. Rotate one time and see how many main bends are there. How many main bends are there? And usually it is one factor that you expect one main bend should be there. Then step number 3. Step number 3. Force it. Force it to one factor. How can you force it? Again run the basic with that option, comma, factors 1 with a factor. That's the third step. Fourth step. What's the fourth step? Rotate. So it's a very simple command. After you run that, rotate, comma, very max. That's the most popular method to rotate a factor solution. So if you rotate it, if there are several factors, it will rotate it. But if you have one factor, then nothing to rotate. Right? Rotation is done for several factors. And you get the almost same. So those are the 4 steps that we had done. Right? Second. And in all cases, for work-life balance, job satisfaction, then life satisfaction, and as well as stress, we all establish what? Construct life. But when it comes to stress variable, seems there's an issue. Why? There was negative factor. So I gave you the answer. Why is that? Because negatively worded questions are there. Among negatively worded questions are whether that time හැමෝම ගන්න පහ ගැනීම. ඒක අපි කියන පහ ගැනීම. What පහ ගැනීම? Because when you are getting a questionnaire with a Likert scale, what people do? ඔක්කොම පහ ගන්න. පහ ගැනීම. So you get 5. So ඒක තමයි ඒක වලක්වන්න තමයි to prevent that you put negatively worded questions. To see whether this person is gaming or not. Genuine response or not, you can check. Right. So that's what we do under factor analysis. Now let's go to reliability. Please take down the topic reliability. Please take down reliability. Now let's try to take reliability. We are going to look at other Today I'm going to discuss 2 things: validity and reliability. Right? Validity is checked by factor analysis. Reliability is checked by something called front batch alpha. Reliable person equalize. Or let's say I have a friend that I make meeting with. Friends need to meet. So this person agrees to come next day morning at 9 a.m. Right? My friend A agrees to come at 9 a.m. but he never comes at 9 a.m. 9:10, 9:15, 9:30. Right? Is that person reliable?
Is that person reliable? Why is that? Not consistent. Of a different type. But then there is another person who agrees to come at 9 and will always come at 9. Is that person reliable? Yes. Why? Because it's consistent. Consistency is what? Reliability. Here, now we take life satisfaction, job satisfaction, likewise. We had 5 sub-questions. Right? Can you remember? These questions need to be consistent. They have to ask the same thing. They need to be consistent. That's what we call relation. Internal consistency. They should be, all 5 should be the same, asking the same thing. We establish the validity, construct validity, whether it's close to as one factor. Now we can check the consistency of these questions, whether these are the same. To do that, we can use a metric called, a statistic called alpha. And for that, we'll compute convex alpha. So you can see, I have given that. You can compute something called convex alpha to check whether the questions are consistent. Here, this calculated convex alpha each case reliability. So please take down convex alpha. We have to do spellings are here. Convex alpha. Please write down convex alpha. Convex alpha is used to check the internal reliability. Internal reliability. Internal reliability. Internal reliability. Or consistency of a weight. Or consistency of a weight. Reliability is the problem. Or consistency of the weight. So once you execute this particular test, alpha, it will give a reliability score from 0 to 1. Usually, right, a convex alpha value above 0.7 is said to be good. What? Above 0.7 and convex alpha value, that's the threshold. 0.7. Right? Factor loading site only above 0.5. But here, 0.7. If it is above 0.7, it's said to be good. Right? So I have given a note on that type. I have put a note here now. You can see. Okay. I have told a convex alpha value above 0.7 is considered to be acceptable. Above 0.8 is good, above 0.9 is excellent. But if something is below 0.6, then some issue is there. But also, if it is above 9.5, right, 0.95, that has a problem. A little bit of a problem, but again, it's fine. Okay. Below 0.6 is the same issue. So if the convex alpha is above 0.7, it's good. Right. How to check the convex alpha value? You just type alpha and put the items of the question. So let's go back to data. And let's say I want to check the reliability of life satisfaction. So please take down this example. Calculate and comment. Example, calculate and comment. Example, calculate and comment. Calculate and comment. The reliability of the reliability of life satisfaction subquestions, reliability of life satisfaction subquestions, life satisfaction subquestions, okay. Okay. Can you do that? Let's see how to do that. It's very simple. What you do is you can type alpha and then go over here and choose life set 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right. Alpha life set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hit enter. Then it will give the alpha value. The value is 0.89. Can you see that? Can you run it and see that? 0.89. Is it good? Is 0.89 good? It's extremely good. You're expecting above 0.7, acceptable. But it says it's 0.89. Since it's above 0.7, you can conclude since the from batch alpha value, please take down. Since the from batch alpha value is above 0.7, is above 0.7, above 0.7, above 0.7. It is concluded that above 0.7, it is concluded that there is high reliability. There is high reliability. There is high reliability. There is high reliability. Okay. So can you check the PSS1 to PSS10 reliability? First is stress again reliable bundle. Bundle again, they get reliable there. So we force it on the state of it, and then you have to run it, and you have to proper refine that. It is nicely means go factor one and factor two, and also factor four. Because they get alpha.
Is it good or bad? Okay, about point. So shall we do that? You say alpha and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, it's 0.85. That's internal consistent, isn't it? No issue. Likewise, you can check the internal consistency. Once you check that, then what is the you check the validity, you check the reliability, and after that, what you can do? You can create the variable. Then here are method. Now what you have to say is, life satisfaction has how many subquestions? 5 subquestions. Is it a variable? No. These are still subquestions. Now you need to create the variable. Please take a special note. Special note earlier. Special note. Right? Creating a variable. 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 Once we check the validity and reliability of the subquestion of the subquestion of a variable the subquestions of a variable, comma, then we could create the variables, we could create the variable if these are satisfied. We could create the variable if these are satisfied. If these are satisfied. You would create the variable if these are satisfied. So you have to satisfy two things here. What are the two things? Validity and return. Right. Questions? Calculate this. Calculate and create. Calculate and create the life satisfaction here. Life satisfaction. Life satisfaction. Calculate and create the life satisfaction. Right. So now again let's see. Did we satisfy the value criteria? When you specify valid construct validity model, yes, it loaded to one factor. Number 2, did we establish the reliability? Yes, it was about 0.8. 0.7. Right, 0.7. It was around about 0.85 when they were given. So it's well above 0.7. That also correct. Now can we create the variable? Yes. Now we can create the variable for life and we call it average life cycle, no total life cycle, whatever. We call it life cycle. Right. So how to calculate the variable?
Now you have the authority or you have the right to create a variable. Out of those 5 subquestions, තාම තියෙන questions 5යි. තාම variable එක එළියට ඇවිල්ලා. දැන් තමයි variable එක create කරන්නේ. Right? Shall we create the variable? I teach you how exactly to do that. The variable create කරද්දී දරුවෝ එක එක දේවල් කරනවා. I'll show you what could go wrong. With example, I'll show you. Now let's take this example. Basic example. So let's say there are 2 employees, 3 employees A, B, C. Let's say life that one. So these are the 5 subquestions. So for the 5 subquestions, these what is Likert scale? This guy gave 4, 4, 3, 4, 5, 4. Can there be 6? I think bad. Likert scale is on 1 to 5. This person is this. Just how this phone call है पता क्या हुआ पाम फोन कॉल या boyfriend or maybe one of your what now now how to create the variable this basic example. So I told take the average. So I call this life satisfaction, life sat underscore wow. Okay. So how could I do that? A student might do like this. Sir, name of life sat mark up gun me. Is a gun me. Ah, sir, you get a patanga no nothing parano. And it was a movie. Make a sir up. Gun no life set 1. Take a look. Life set 2. Take a look. 3. 4. And 5. So it was a 100. It was a within a game. What is that you can calculate? You have to calculate the average. You divide it by 5. Do you agree? This is the average value. You calculate the average value of those 5 questions. And you create a variable. Hit enter 4.6. So what is the value? Is it correct? Is it correct? Average value is calculate कर. Average को calculate कर लेते हैं. Questions बाहर आगे ना एक average value calculate करता हूँ अभी मगर क्या ना we are going to create the what? But हम करो तो ये हर मगर क्या ना first one the average is hurry. Is it correct? No, it's not. I will now show you how to do it properly. Life set को आएगा तो हम तो हर ये calculate करने I will show you. This is the correct. I use the function. I will take the average of this. Oh, sir, it is a hurry. 4.6 ne. That's very hurry. Where's that? I will make a winner.
අයින් මේක වෙනස්. C උත්තර පහක් දුන්නද පහින්ද? Did C gave 5 answers to divide it by 5? No. Then it's wrong to divide it by 5. If C gave 4 answers, it should have been divided by 4. Right? So that's why just adding and dividing by 5 or 4 or whatever the number of items is wrong. So sometimes there might be missing values. In that case, if you do compute by just adding that and dividing by 5 or number 4 or number 3, if there are 3 items, that's wrong. You have to use the function called what? Average function. Right? Is that clear? C did not give an answer for this one. So here what we have done is we have divided by 5. මේකත් පහෙන් බෙදලා තියෙනවා. පහෙන් බෙදන්න බෑ ඒක හතරෙන් බෙදන්න. Because he did not answer that question. So it's wrong to, without answering that question, it's wrong to take that as a response because it's missing. It's not zero. Zero නම් හරි. ඉතින් zero කියලා දෙයක් නැහැ. In a Likert scale, there is 1 to 5. The person got a phone call from his or her boyfriend or girlfriend and forgot to answer. I'll say, it was it. Right. Thank you. Let's go. So in that case, it's wrong to take the divided by just 1. But average, right? Now, if we divide it by 4, that's the correct way. Then the answer should set that. නමුත් අපි calculation එක දෙන්නේ ඔක්කොම එකට straight එක you are going to give the calculation like that එකකට calculation දෙන්නේ therefore what you have to do is you have to use the correct average value. Now I am going to teach you how to create the variable properly. Then variable create කරන විදිය මම කියලා දෙන්න හදනවා. How to properly create the variable but life satisfaction. Right, shall we do that? Okay. Now look at this very carefully. It's a little bit complex, but once you know what you are doing, it's okay. It's called the row mean function. මේ row එකේ mean එක ගන්න. Row, each row you have to take the mean value and do the computation. ඒ කියන්නේ row mean කියන function එක තමයි use කරන්නේ. Extended generation command sir. මොකද සර් හදිස්සියෙන් සර් නරකවසේ කියන්නේ නැහැ. There is a command called egen extended generation command. I'll show you how to do it. Don't worry, it's a simple thing, but you have to understand this very carefully. Why we are just not adding and dividing by a number. It's a very good. Okay. So let's see how to calculate it. Make a battery. Just don't add color, divide current by Excel. Right. Missing value නැත්තම් ප්‍රශ්න එන්නේ නම් missing value තියෙන්නේ. Right. Let's go to data. Data වලට ගිහිල්ලා. දැන් මේ ඔක්කොම check කරන්න life satisfaction alpha තියෙනවා 0.89 not 0.9 and the validity was checked, construct value was checked, now it's satisfied. Now let's create the variable life satisfaction variable. How to do that? So to do that, I'm going to go to data, create or change data, create new variable. Make a variable like outline. අමුන්ගේ individual assignment එකේ check කරන්න. Right? At least 3 independent variables should be in Likert scale and the dependent variable only should be in Likert. Remember that. Data, create or change data, create new variable extended. ඒක තමයි egen command. Gen කියලා කියන්නේ generation. Extended generation command. Egen command. Go here and give a name for the new variable. Let's say life satisfaction. No space. If you want, you can keep a space, but no space. Life set. No space, huh? Life set. And I'm going to read the average. And I'm going to say underscore average. Life set average.
because I will take the mean value and compute the variable, not the total. You can take the total also if you want, but I'm going to take copy. Live set underscore average. Just give a meaningful name. These live set, so these I'm going to take live set average underscore average. Everything. Then it says byte or whatever byte number byte on there. Types of but I prefer float, but again, let's byte it on. Right. Then here you can see මෙතන තියෙනවා පහළට ගියාම ඔන්න තියෙනවා command එක row mean කියලා. Row mean. Row එකේ mean එක ගන්න. For each row, for each employee, the mean value will be computed. That's why it's called row mean. RAW there with the mean. Row mean is something else. It's row mean. Take it ahead. ROW. Row එකේ mean. For each row, the mean will be complete. You saw in Excel file there was each row. Each row. But they go වෙනස් කරගත්ත float කියලා. කමක් නැහැ. කිසි ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. Then what you do is you take the variables. What are the variables? You are going to select here. Live set 1. Live set 1, live set 2, live set 3, live set 4, and live set 5. අතන ලිස්ට් එකේ තෝරගන්න 1 2 3 4 5 මේකේ අදහස තමයි එක එක රෝ එකට මේ පහේ mean එක calculate කරලා අලුත් variable එකක් හදන්න. What it is data is what we are telling data is to take the row mean for these 5 subsections for each row for each employee, right? That's all. It's okay. This is the command. Now you can see at the end, command variable live set average scalar. So you can see there is a new variable created. A new variable created. And what I can do is I can go and I can browse. And if I want to browse only the variables that I need, I can say browse and I can give the variables. So let's say I want to browse live set 1 to, so I'm going to see how to browse currently make a live set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last variable that I created now. Live set 8. Hit enter. And you can see only those variables from variables there now get you the pay. Browse kar. බලන්න දැන් අර පහ එකතු කරලා පහෙන් බෙදුවා හතරේ දුන්නා නේද? So you got this. So this is the final game. So these are the sub questions. And this is the final game. You do that. Browse scale command එක browse scale අර live set 1 to live set 5 තෝරලා අන්තිමට click කරලා දෙන්න එතකොට ඒක දාන්න බැහැ. Browse එක කොහොමද ඔක්කොම පෙන්නනවා. නිකම්ම තිබුවොත් browse. So if you give browse like this, browse කියලා දීලා අපිට ඕන variables විතරක් දුන්නොත් එතකොට එයා පෙන්නන්නේ ඒකෙන් විතරයි. නැත්නම් නිකම් browse කියලා යන්න ඔක්කොම පේනවා. ඉතින් මට හරිය මතයක් අර variables එක කිසි ගන්න බලන්න. So if I want to see only the variable that I want to see, you can say browse and give the variable name. Like what type 5 and then the new variable. The new variable. That's good. Take one by and then also the new page. They take the lead, I said, five, and go to Perfect. Ahora, Romy. Already. Python are I said one feeling I it means space thief because he get it. I said one. On space. That's it. What? That's it. What? Did you create right. Now follow these steps in your individual assignment as well. I need to see this. First check what? The value. Then check what? The reliability for each variable. Each variable taking questions for again, right? Hypothetical case here. That's a hypothetical case that you are going to do. So for that, wait for each variable what? Validity and reliability. Check that and then create the variable and then generate descriptive statement. In your first assignment, individual assignment, what you need to do is go up to what? Go up to descriptive statement. And Balan assignment taking the record will be Avasana those. It's coming very soon, isn't it? Coming soon.
All the deadlines are given. Actually, 13th September you have to process. 5th September you have to upload the individual assignment. I take 1 year. Right. So group members, who is the batch lead again? Can you raise your hand? Batch lead? Good. You have two batch leads. So can you please give me the list of group members? Thank you very much again for your help. Right. You guys. Okay. Right. No, you don't like it. Thank you. You have already said that. Okay. So with that, that's it for today. Any questions? Individual assignment again. For your individual assignment again, I am telling you, you have to have what? Gender, age of case study, and also you have to have Likert type questions. At least 3 independent variable Likert type, then 1 dependent variable Likert type question, right? And then create the data set and the things like that. Synthetic data set, you don't need to get actual data. Then after that, what you have to do? You have to follow these steps in the individual assignment. Check the validity. Check the reliability for each variable. एक variable लेके reliability check करना, validity check करना. एකට दाना check करना नहीं पाओ. को टाइप किया ना दाना check करना. Whenever check करना questions. Check it. And then once you are satisfied, do what? Create the base folder. And then for individual assignment, the next main task is what? Generate descriptive stats. Measures of central tendency, dispersion distribution, right? And location, likewise, we had 4, and you have to describe data. And also graphical analysis, draw pie chart, draw line charts, draw histograms. With other diagrams, you draw. And explain, describe the data. So that's a requirement for what? For your individual assignment. So start now, it takes a huge amount of time to do it properly. Done by a plan. Whether a subject here, how many subjects do you have this semester? 3 or 4? 3. Now, all 3 will have an individual assignment and a group assignment, right? Am I correct? So, you will have in that case 6 at the end almost. At the end. So, here massive workload. Then, as intelligent people, intelligent students, what do they do? Pace it out. Right? Every week, consistently do the things for the assignment. If you are going to do that at the last moment, it will create a hell for you. Don't make your future self curse you. Your future self curse karana tiyanne pa. Future self is right on September 5th, September 30th. That's your future self. If your future self is going to curse you, saying that you did not do the correct things on the correct time, that's not true. අපේ අනාගතය අපිට කර්ස් කරනවා ඔයාලා වෙලාවට වැඩි කරේ නැහැ කියලා. ඒක ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක්. අපිට වෙන කට්ටියට කර්ස් කරන්න අපේම අනාගතය. අපි වොන්න දැන් සෙප්තැම්බර් 5. සෙප්තැම්බර් 5ට වැඩි දවසක් නැහැ. අද ගවතු තව දවස් 12යි. You have another 12 days only to come up with your individual assignment. That's the only way out. Next week, I will be teaching you t-test and then smart pay. Likewise, things are planned. But on 5th midnight,
Your substance is no much time. Plan. I declare this assignment long back. So now, here it up, then maybe the mini case study can be. And then you should have also developed your correct question. Then check the validity reliability statistics, generate the variables, have what? The descriptive statistics. You have 12 days for all this. And that's enough time. You have more than enough time. But you have to use the time very efficiently and effectively. First, effective. You can efficiently use it for raw purpose. A student might very efficiently use the time to use all 24 hours very efficiently to watch Netflix. Netflix that's efficient. But is it effective? Not at all. You have got Netflix, that's good for nothing. So there's a ratio between entertainment and education. Although both start with E, they have a very different impact on your life. Entertainment, education ratio. What you should increase? The education ratio. Not I tell you, you'll be in terrible situation. Terrible situation. So another 12 days, 2 weeks from now. And it's individual assignment. Right. Okay. So just motivated group. Now let's take attendance. Okay, attendance come and ask you. Okay, let's take attendance. Okay. Last week, attendance. See you next week. Okay, thank you. I got the appreciate the data. Please take on 60.
Okay, so with that, then we'll complete today's proceedings. Thank you very much. Digital business strategy. Digital business strategy.